There's a big. Oh, you got it.
Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. Your ears don't deceive you. It's Sam. I'm doing the intro because it was a very lackluster performance, so I just thought I'd come along and brighten your day. I saw Wicked on the weekend, and I feel the exact same way. There were some good parts. I left kind of feeling flat because it was altogether far too long. And that's how I feel about the Southampton game as well. But to raise my spirits, I have the actual professional Mary Southgate here. Mary, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm enjoying. I'm back on again. I'm enjoying it. Other
Good.
than we've got to talk about like slightly not as
you're
enjoyable
back.
stuff, but
I like how the only times we come on is together now. We're forming a nice little
yeah, here we are.
partnership. We're building up each other, and our other man who needs absolutely no build at all. It's Skibby. How's my Skibby?
I'm very well, man. I'm very good. I thought Mary was just going to leave it with "I'm back." So I mean, there you go. I must have enjoyed it somewhat. I thought that's just yes, leave it there. But no, it's good to be back to you guys. And it always. I don't want Jack and Elton and Dave to be a bit upset about this, but I do get excited when it's a Sam episode. There's a part of me is just like, okay, this could go anywhere. So we'll talk a little bit about the Southampton game, but everything else, I have no clue. So
well, I've already dropped the musical, and I've got like a red panda staring at me right now. But let's just talk some football. Also, I've done the intro, but let's face it, I'm not going to be the host today. That's just a ridiculous concept. All right, guys, let's get into it. Nil all.
Before you do, there's a Discord.
Okay, you go. Oh, there's Discord. There is a Discord. And obviously, if you want to join us, now's the best time to actually join us because I'm going to probably highlight anything that you say. So if you tickle me today, it will definitely get a shout out in some capacity. Join the Discord. It's my new favorite place on earth, aside from sitting here with Skibby and Mary. But guys, we're not here to just love each other. That just comes naturally anyway.
That is natural.
We're here. It's right. That's right. We're here to talk about the game. Skibby, I'm going to pass it over to you. There is actually a lot of positives. There's also a lot of negatives. Let's okay. How about because you are the bright spark in my life, I want you to talk to me about what you liked about today. And also, did you just miss me? Did you miss this?
Yeah, absolutely missed this. But after the full-time whistle, it was like, well, at least I get to talk about this absolute bore draw, which would be like pulling teeth. But at the same time, given the audience and with the panel here today, it does brighten up a little bit, so that's all good. But I mean, I think first and foremost, we saw the team lineups get announced. We did get a little bit of a tip, which was fantastic, but which is always nice. But Josh King, who saw that coming? I mean, I always joked about Marco Silva being Mr. Not boring, but always Mr. Predictable. He doesn't change things unless he really, really has to. And I think in this scenario, unless it was something where he really did have to change something, I know the omission of Smith Rowe was a bit of a curveball. No one expected him to be completely out, not even in the squad. But for Josh King to make his Premier League debut, probably a good game for him to do so as well, with Southampton sitting where they are in the table. But, it was suddenly like okay, we've got a midfield of Tom Kearney, who, without having to make him feel really old, I don't know if you guys saw the photo, but Josh King led out the team for our playoff semi-final against Derby County. An 11-year-old Josh King with captain Tom Kearney, and now they're in the midfield together. So that was really
mad,
cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It was really insane. But I think, I was already quite excited. It was a big statement for Josh, and to see what he could do at the top level, which is Premier League football, but given him a bit of an easier run, should I say, with a team who are particularly not very confident at the moment, not getting results, so he could have a good impact in the game. And I think quite early on, Mary, we saw that, didn't we? Like the touches from Josh and how he sort of took to the game. He didn't look out of place at all, did he?
No, not at all. He was, like you said, he was a bright spark on the pitch. Like he brought energy, he brought drive. Yeah, I thought he was like probably player of the match on our team.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yesterday, he had the most energy out of everyone on the pitch, to be honest.
I was really
Which is good.
surprised by. I mean, and maybe I'm a bit of a novice in this because I'm familiar with Josh as a concept and as a player. I wasn't aware of how defensive his prowess kind of was. He was everywhere, and he like. I mean, if you popped him in centre mid, I would probably be quite content with that. But I really liked him as an attacking threat, and I understand why Silva chose to have him there. But yeah, a bit like it's a hard one for me because again. I love him being there. I think this was a great outcome for Josh King. Team overall, not necessarily the best. I think there was some teething with just having him there because he was doing a lot. Mary, you're probably the best person to speak to with regards to this because, as I've said a million times, I am not a professional. How do you kind of cope when you have somebody so electric kind of come into the side, but they're not really part of your everyday kind of playing routine? How do you go with that?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think I said it last week. Like you've got to get the connections on the pitch. I think it was a brilliant opportunity for him. To be fair, I didn't expect him to start, but I can see why Silva did start him. And I think in Silva's press conference after, he said that he's been shown really positively in training. So I can see why he started him. But it's like what I said last time. It's all about connections on the pitch. So like have them three work together really in the middle. Probably I don't think they've been. Well, they've obviously not been a three in the middle. But his energy was superb. Can't fault that. He brought a lot of energy. He was everywhere. He brought some drive going forwards. But yeah, I think it's one of those. We'll see him a few times come in for games like yesterday, but. I can't see him starting. Well, I say that we've got a lot of injuries now, so we might actually need him to start. But yeah, brilliant performance from him.
Yeah, and I didn't want to discredit Josh at all, but I think playing him in the 10 was probably the safest place for him to be on the pitch because I think it is a position where if you're not having the greatest game or you're losing, it's not vital to the team, right? That if you go a bit absent, that we've seen in previous games, sort of where Smith Rowe sort of goes a bit quiet, it doesn't really affect at least the defensive structure. But yeah, I think Sam, you're bang on the money there because everyone talks about his passing ability and his assists that he's getting in sort of the under 21s and how good of a player he was in an attacking sense. But yeah, he was a little terrier when it came to sort of defensive action. And I think there was a moment sort of in the first half where the ball kind of fell on the edge of the area of our own area, and there seemed to be a Southampton player, I can't remember who it was, seemed to take like 3 touches, looked to have a free pot shot at goal, and he just came out of nowhere and just sort of got a poke in and got the ball away. And I thought that was really vital. And I think that, for me, is something which I've often talked about with Smith Rowe that he kind of misses, that work rate that you want from a player that we see with Pereira. Where he's just sort of buzzing around, getting involved, making tackles. And I think you're quite right. I mean, I don't think he would look out of place if he went into sort of that number 8 role. Like, if we had either Smith Rowe or Pereira ahead of him, that you'd have sort of Berger and King, I don't think he'd be out of place there, the way that we saw him. Maybe in a midfield where it's probably a little bit more stronger, a bit more dominant, that he may struggle. But, I mean, at the moment, I don't want to say... Or tell him things that he can't do. I think we just sort of big him up and just wind him up and watch him go and see what happens. But yeah, great introduction, great start to the game, and a great performance all round.
It reminded me a little bit of Carvalho, but better.
I did think that.
But better. And I do agree. I think we've got to look at the positives of him, and he's going to get better, isn't he? But he needs to get stronger as well. That's the thing. If he goes into the 8, I think it will work, but only against teams where he won't be out strength. But then his energy, like if he can be nippy around them, it will work.
I thought it was. I mean, I thought he was probably my favorite part of the first half overall because outside of that, I think we should probably talk about. I'm really glad we've given Josh King time, but I'm conscious of the fact that we've already stuck about 10 minutes here, and look at me being conscious. I'm just doing the best I can. I do think we should talk about like the first half, just like an overall, just your blanket statements, because I think I want to like hang on positives as much as we can here, because we will get into negatives and stuff that we don't like. There's plenty. But just give me like a round kind of like opinion of you guys of just with how the first half went in your eyes, in your very, very lovely eyes.
Well, you say you want positive, and it's quite hard to bring out positives of that first half, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm really racking. I'm thinking we were
You're
defending well.
we
were defending well. We seemed to sort of create space quite well in front of the box, and I think the way that we worked into the final third, the beginning of the final third, was great. And then as soon as we got to the edge of the box, it was either a cross into no one, or I think Muniz was really struggling to sort of hold up play. But I mean, I did hear that there was a few fouls that weren't given for him, but I think when you've got two really strong centre backs, that's probably not the best situation for Muniz to be in. But we were kind of held to just pot shots at goal. I think Iwobi had a sort of a curler which was saved by Ramsdale, and just a couple, and I think Wilson had a volley that went just over. But I mean, that's all we really had in that first half, was these kind of pot shots, edge of the box from Wilson and Iwobi. I think it was only one shot on target, which I think was the Iwobi one. But yeah, it just seemed to be that we were getting in behind, and I think Robinson could have been used a bit better. I think his crossing was good, and we've seen that this season, that he can get to the byline, get a ball in to sort of cause havoc. But for me, I just don't think there was enough people in and around the box to really make things happen. And that has probably been something which has been a real, repeated occurrence for the Marco Silva team this season, which is, with Smith Rowe going to the wing, he doesn't crash the box. And I think with Josh King coming in at number 10, I don't think he was sort of getting into sort of shooting positions or being that kind of second striker, which Andreas Pereira has shown us to be this season. So I think once you kind of take that Pereira and Smith Rowe out of the equation, that we don't really have that threat in the box, and then Muniz gets a bit isolated, and Bednarek, we touched upon him in the preview, that he was he's just been at Southampton for donkey's years. I'm still surprised he's in his 20s, but he's experienced. He's still a Premier League sort of centre back. Therefore, it's not going to be an easy feat, especially if you don't get people in and around Muniz who can help him. But I think that was just the key thing. It was just very slow, very passive, not really that much intent. And I think once you slow the game down, then it allows Southampton to get back into their shape. And I think in fairness, they kind of did that quite well, if I'm honest. They just got bodies behind the ball. We couldn't really break them down. And in that first half, they limited us to sort of pot shots.
Do you reckon that had something to do with Southampton playing 5 at the back? Because they massively, they really, really overloaded that. And I watched a really good YouTube short, actually, from The Athletic, that were just bigging up Silva and Fulham in general, and just talking about how we're very, very good at the moment at finding space into the box. And Southampton clearly had worked that out. Maybe they subscribed to The Athletic, I don't know. And they just really clocked that if they shut us out of the box, that actually limits a lot of our attacking prowess. But you could also put that down to just selection in general, because I understand we played a weaker squad, but I didn't know how I felt about the selection. I understand why he did it, but I mean, for me, in that kind of environment, I want to start someone like Adama Traore just to smash through. But I'd much rather hear Mary's thoughts on it. Mary, how did you feel about the first half?
Yeah, I think Skibby's nailed it really with all of that. I just think it was slow, wasn't it? And we all thought we'd be 2-0 up at half time before the game when we chatted last week. But like we thought they'd do. Southampton, they had a low block. Like you said, they had bodies behind the ball. I think there's one moment we could have countered really quickly, and then next minute they've got their whole team back in shape. And I think they're the moments we needed to capitalise on a bit better, just because they were going to go defensive. So they didn't really create anything, Southampton up top. So it was down to us to just need to be a bit more creative, pull them apart a bit. I thought we find good space out to Wilson on the side. There was some times we switched out really nicely, and they're the moments I think like he drives really well with the ball as well. Gutted his shot didn't go in. That would have been a great goal. Yeah, that would have been brilliant. And the same with the second half goal, actually. Shot right on target. Good save, to be fair. But yeah, we just lacked that. Like you said, we just didn't really have any clear-cut chances. We were only really had a few long range sort of edge of the box shots, Wilson and Iwobi. We didn't really get the ball into the 6-yard area to get a clear-cut chance, which is a shame.
No. Yeah, I think King had one where he managed to put it across the face of goal on the right-hand side of the box, but just no one stuck a leg out. And I just think that was just kind of summed it all up, really. And to be honest, what I will say is, just additionally on that, I think Flynn Downs did quite a good job on Kearney. He managed to basically, every time Kearney had his sort of received the ball with his back towards sort of the Southampton goal, he was always on his back. He was always kind of there, and I think he picked up quite an early yellow card after sort of chopping Kearney down. But I think that was really limiting the use of Tom Kearney and allowing him to sort of dictate the pace and the play.
Yeah, I think they blocked him out quite well, didn't they? Because he didn't really get to create much.
No, and I think it was just a shame that, with Flynn Downs on a yellow card, you're thinking, right, okay, this is where Tom Kearney can start to, Downs can't be that close to him anymore. He needs to watch his step, but I just don't think he really took the advantage of that situation very well. And I think, not to discredit Tom in any way, but I do think that was the point where we are used to faster breaks, Smith Rowe picking up the ball with Nelson out wide and sort of Lukic and Berger always trying to sort of spray the ball out wide and get the ball moving. I did find that sort of Tom dwelled on it a little bit, and I did think it was sort of a little
slowed
bit...
it down a bit, I think.
Yeah, a bit too sluggish, and I think it's too intricate at times. And I mean, looking at the comment that Sam put on screen, so Torda saying, I think we missed Pereira's pressing play in the 10 today. Any thoughts? Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think we missed the press as much. I think it was just that the use of the ball in possession. I don't know if you think the same. I think it's just being a bit quicker on the ball, and I don't know whether Pereira really would have fixed that for us, if I'm honest. But I think it's the pressing, not so much, unless you guys disagree with me, but I don't think the pressing...
No, I think it's just the pace. I think you're right. It's the pace in possession is what we missed. We could have used Robinson a bit more. I can't get enough of him. I think he's so good, he's so quick. There's one moment he won the ball in the first half in the middle of the park, and then within seconds he's out on the wing, getting it off Iwobi to go and overlap. And I think his energy...
it's such a wonderful thing to say that an okay performance with Robinson is still excellent, in my opinion. I think he is. I don't care what anyone says. I think he's the best left back in the Prem. I think he really has that position locked down now. Anyone who kind of says otherwise, it's just pure top 6 bias at this point. I genuinely don't. I have this conversation with Dad all the time in a separate executive group chat that we have. It's, do you know what it actually is? It's literally me and my dad talking when I go to the supermarket, and
you've got to make it sound good though.
Exactly. You guys don't know, deal with it. But what was I saying? I've completely blanked.
Robinson.
Sorry, I was just thinking about going to Coles.
What is on the shopping list? Can I ask?
Do you know what? I got Brussels sprouts today because I'm doing my Christmas shopping at the moment. I've spent way too much money on bed linen recently. So the Christmas, it's just something that you have to do. And we've got this thing here because mince pies aren't really a big deal. How do you guys go with a mince pie?
It's not my vibe, I'll be honest.
Straight in the bin.
But
Are you
yeah,
serious? Are you
I'm not
serious?
taking a bite of it.
You know what? I've got a weirder thing as well because this is like a nice little family tidbit for us. So in because obviously we're in Australia, we have to. My mum makes a whole bunch of mince pies and then she puts them in the freezer, and then so they keep good because otherwise they go off. So in my family, we steal them from the freezer because my mum makes a whole bunch. So I quite like a cold mince pie as well, which really highlights the fact that I am a psychopath. Um, uh, so
No
it's a double
comment.
whammy there. Anyway, Anthony Robinson. So
You think he likes mince pies?
I mean, he might as well because he's the mince pie of my heart. Um,
That was
uh,
good. That
thank
was good.
you, thank you. It'll always come back, Mary. It'll always come back. Is that enough? Is that like Robinson's incredible? I truly don't know if he's going to stay with us, but I also don't really know where else he would go. He's kind of one of those kind of ones. I don't really know who's shopping around who would also fit his kind of profile. But maybe I just don't know enough about the world game at this stage to like really slot him in anywhere. I always see him as kind of going to somewhere like AC Milan, but maybe that's just me just liking that kind of narrative. Now, have we covered the first half enough? Should we digress?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say. I think that was kind
It's
of
because
it.
nothing
but
happened.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing happened in the whole game.
Nothing happened in the whole game. Like it must be very. You guys were both at the cottage, right?
Yeah.
And like when it's a 0-0 draw at the cottage, how do like that's a really shit day. Though, like how do you guys kind of deal with that after coming all the way and then just having to subject yourself to that? I know we're all diehard fans here and we just accept that, but how do you feel?
Go on, Mary.
Oh, it was frustrating, wasn't it? I just feel like it. Everyone will say the same. It's definitely 2 points dropped, so it is frustrating.
100%.
I go with my mum and dad, so we chat about it walking back through the park, which is quite nice. But it's really frustrating because, especially when you think you're going to win by quite a few goals. There was a bit more like standing up, sitting down in the second half, a little bit more exciting moments. But especially when you think you're going to win, and then it's 0-0, it's like.
Is this humbling for us? Like, should we have actually? Well, I'm not sure if you guys spoke about selection because my internet cut out. That's the reality.
That's fine. We did it previously, yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't there for that, so.
Are you jealous?
Oh
yeah.
Well, I was gonna add actually to the how do you feel at the cottage? I think it's this time of year. I had a few too many drinks the night before. I felt like absolute death when I got up that morning, and then I found out that the trains closest to me weren't running very well because there was signaling problems. So my dad had to come pick me up, and then we had to go to a different station. So it was like I was barely alive. I had to get into a car where I was just like instantly like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then, the entire journey. So for me, it takes about an hour and a half, I think. So about an hour of trains and then about half an hour walk from Hammersmith, where I felt absolute like death. But you're like, okay, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. And in a weird way, and I even messaged Mary this other day, was like, I'm quite glad nothing happened in that first half because I don't think my stomach could handle standing up, sitting down, and my headache couldn't handle all the cheering. So it was a bit flat. So in a weird way, it was quite nice that I was nursing a headache. It was a blessing, but I would rather have suffered in victory. But hey, it's the
it was a bit quiet,
flat.
wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
It did feel flat. I think when you like we said, we were very slow. We didn't get the ball moving quick enough, and I think the crowd feeds off that. We feed off big, like against big teams, we feed off the big tackles. Against the smaller teams, we feed off the intent, the attacking velocity, which there just wasn't any. And I think everything was a bit flat, and it played off on the pitch. I think in a way that the crowd was flat, the team was flat, everybody was flat, and we just really wanted Silva to really kind of rollick them at half time and just say, guys, you need to take your chance here. Only Josh King's here, so he's turned up. Robinson, okay, he had a good go, but I think there wasn't many people you could stand out and say, you're having a great game, or you're really playing to the top of your game. But even the second half wasn't that great.
Well, look, okay, so we've been incredibly positive in the first half. So,
So
I
positive.
think, yeah. So I think now we can go into the second half and actually start placing some sufficient blame, because I actually kind of want to place some blame. Attacking wise, so wasteful, like just genuinely really, really wasteful. I think Iwobi was doing well, and I'm gonna give Wilson credit for actually getting into some good positions and actually kind of putting away. I forgot Muniz existed at a couple of points, and then when Jimenez came on, I kind of forgot that he was there a couple of times as well. And I can't really put that down to Southampton playing a particularly strong defensive line. Just knout. I wish I could really put a finger on what that actually is. I can recognize that I just don't necessarily know enough about football, so I'm really interested to see your guys' opinion on this. But yeah, just what was going on? Is that just in their own heads, or what's that all about?
I don't think Muniz really got much service, to be fair. For like at all when he was on. I think he held, like we know he can like hold the ball up at times. I think he did a few times. He drew a few fouls, but I don't think he really got the service. I think I agree. Wilson got into some good positions. Iwobi, I feel like, is a bit like another Robinson. He can have a poorer game, but it's still good. But yeah, we just weren't quick enough. We just needed to have drive more. Yeah, it was slow.
I think we lost the momentum. I mean, the little momentum that we had, we lost the momentum when Josh King came off, if I'm honest. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the first sub was Muniz off and King off for Raul and Adama, I think it was.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
And I mean, yeah, Adama, you know what you get with Adama. He's very direct, but at the same time, we just didn't have that tenacity in midfield that we then lost from Josh King. And I think Muniz could have been pulled at half time, in my opinion. I think he was that ineffective and just not everything that was near him. He just seemed to be hitting the ground or just being just on the floor. But I think we then lost that kind of central position. But then Adama did have some moments. I think he probably had the closest part of the game, which was it looked like a bit of a scuff, but it was sort of curling away from the keeper, and you thought that left chance or the left-footed shot, that was the one that was going to sort of bury into the bottom corner. And then you thought if that had just sort of nicked into the side net in there, that we'd push on and potentially win the game by more. But
I feel like if we had just got one, we would have kept going. That's all. We just needed that first breakthrough. Which we couldn't get.
I don't know about you guys, but it did kind of feel that Iwobi still played well, but really kind of lost it a little bit in the first half, and that continued into the second half because he had a couple of shots on goal, just not really with any great momentum. And I mean, Mary, you could probably speak more to like the psychology of players more than me and Skibby probably could. But if you have taken a couple of shots and it's really not necessarily going in the way that you want, how does that wig you out for the second half? Or are you supposed to have just a steely determination?
Well, I'm not a striker, so my shots would be like yesterday going over.
Stop it. I remember calling out your statistics. I remember you've scored some goals in your time.
I've scored a few. But no, I don't think it would have got in his head. I think sometimes like it's just not going to work today, and it's just whatever I do, it's not going to work. But I don't think it would have got in his head. He was getting shots off. Iwobi's shots weren't too far away.
No, they weren't.
So I don't think that would have affected him, to be fair. But I think you're right. We missed. I think the centre midfield is probably where it went a bit wrong, because every time we could get it out to Wilson or Iwobi or whatever it was, we could be a bit more attacking, a bit more creative. But there was nothing really. If we couldn't get it out to them from the midfield, it wasn't really I think that's where the problem was.
Right, who are we blaming in the midfield then? Mary, you walk right
I
into
don't
that
know,
one.
but
Come
I
on.
do think I just think
No,
it wasn't as
I need
strong.
names. I need names.
I think Kearney was a little quiet.
Oh.
But
do too.
I think
actually do too.
King was really good, and I think when he went off, I agree. Like the energy went down. But I just think it wasn't as strong as it normally is.
No, that's fair. That's fair. You done very well there. I was very hard on you for that
We
second.
did have a bit of a...
who
No, we
you
did
pointing
have
your
a bit of
sharpshooter at?
No, I mean we talked about Kearney having a quiet game. I think that's for me is Kearney wasn't as impactful as he can be. I think he took too long on the ball, slowed the game down to sort of help his game, but you know that slowed us down all round, and I don't think that really helped in our favour when Southampton were getting, you know, people behind the ball. But I do think that we had a bit of a really makeshift midfield when the injuries started happening, though. Like, you know, we had Lukic come on for Berger, but then I think we had Iwobi in the middle with Wilson in the number 10 role, and it just all looked a bit disjointed at times. And I think, and then we even went 2 strikers. Like Carlos Vinicius, who remembered him? He was there. I didn't. I forgot he was there.
He got some sort of shot off.
You know what? He was actually pretty good when he came on. I mean, it was the most Carlos Vinicius moment, wasn't it? It was sort of won the ball back, and then he swung a left foot at it,
and then he did that sort of shot.
Look, he didn't try to hit anyone, so I guess that's kind of a win of sorts. I actually thought Berger played really well. I'm not sure if you covered it.
Did, yeah.
I thought he's a really interesting player for me because he's really, really strong. You can kind of tell that he's really, really strong, but he's not brash with it. He's like Shrek. There is a poise about that man, but you can tell that he could crush your bones if he wanted to. But he's not doing that. He's not necessarily swanning around, but he is he's asserting himself, and there's a poise about him that I really, really appreciate. I mean, I think you're way more likely to get stabbed by Sasa Lukic than Berger.
I mean, I quite like the analogy. I mean, he does have layers. I mean,
he does.
He's got poise about him. He can carry the ball. He can tackle. Whereas
we've done musicals, we've done Shrek, we've done Christmas shopping. Skivvy, it's everything you've ever wanted.
It is. It's everything. But no, I mean, this is a comment that I made a couple of weeks back, and it got mixed reviews. Let's be honest, but it was that I would say Berger is the more complete midfielder than Palhinha.
I think you're right.
He actually offers more to the team, I think, instead of just an absolute tackle merchant. But
he offers more in attack, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's still, don't get me wrong, Palhinha's still a world-class player, but I just think that we have unearthed Berger to be potentially a very class player as well, but in his own right, which is you don't just rely on him for tackles, you rely on him for carrying the ball, passing the ball, and actually we just need some goals from sort of set pieces throughout the whole team, but not just Berger, but for Berger to then really start to cement himself as that real replacement. But no, I think Berger was very good. I thought Bassi had slotted back in the side very well, but again, didn't really have much to do.
I thought Castagna was good as well. Castagna always pulls in a really solid performance. I mean, he's never going to
player to Tete, isn't he?
He is. It's never going to set the world alight, but I mean, he's perfectly serviceable in that position. But yeah, to echo what you were saying, I think it's always going to be hard, isn't it? I mean, if I'm gonna segue really hard. You're gonna love this, Skivvy. So, if Palhinha is Keith Richards, then I'm going to say Berger's something like a Ronnie Woods. Is it Ronnie Woods or Ronnie Watts? No, Charlie Watts is the drummer. It's Ronnie Woods.
Ronnie Woods.
Yep. Yeah. Again, like Ronnie Woods, he's not getting all the credit every day. He's not as bombastic. He's not as in your face. But you know what? He's really serviceable. And I think 9 times out of 10, you probably prefer Ronnie Woods to be in your band than Keith Richards, because Keith Richards is great, but he's just dicking around, and you kind of need to make a lot of allowances for that. And sometimes that's just not good for the team dynamic. Yeah. I made that work.
Do you know what? You sent me on my mind going there a little bit. Like Castagna's kind of the Ringo in the Beatles, isn't he? He's just sort of like He gets there. Everyone knows his name just because of the band he's in, rather than the actual job that he does. But without him, they still wouldn't perform, as well or be as well known as they are. So I think
Yeah.
Castagna being that kind of boring member is a very good fitting for him. But nobody gets excited about right backs, do they? But he just does the job.
The thing I always love about the Beatles as well is they all kind of have mixed opinions of each other, but they all love Ringo. And I feel like that's the same with Castagna. He's just who hates Timothy Castagna? What a weird sentence that would be.
Yeah,
anyway.
You can't hate him.
Yeah. No. Mary, what do you think about all this?
I'm still thinking about the fact you eat frozen mince pies.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I brought that up to my my housemates today, and they just looked at me with mortified horror. And I was like, please let me stay.
No, I do think Castagna's do it. I think the whole back four is quite solid, to be honest. It's still got Anderson as well. He was on the bench yesterday, wasn't he? But
it's pretty crazy to actually think how solid that back line is, that we can play, objectively speaking here, a really average game against Southampton, and just know that, well, we might not score, but we're definitely not going to concede. Like, at no point did I feel that we were going to concede. And I mean, sometimes that can actually provide a little bit more excitement and a little bit more jeopardy in a negative kind of way. But for me, it just kind of made the game quite boring, because I just knew that nothing was going to get past our back line. I have that much confidence in it, and I think Silva's done an amazing job. Skibby, why are you smiling?
I didn't feel that this time. Like, it got to about the 85th minute, and I think Southampton had a couple of corners, and I was like, this is just going to be so Southampton to score here.
Yeah,
so I was like, I did think it was going to,
and that would be totally Fulhamish last few minutes.
It would have
been, but we kept it out.
That's right.
It was calm, but and then we had a massive chance. The Wilson at the back post from an Adama cross.
Oh, yeah.
How that hasn't gone in, I don't. Fortunately for me, I sit in H6, so it was kind of like my side of the goal, and I just saw Wilson steam in, get something on the end of it, and just thought, this is just hitting the back of the net. All he's got to do is get on target, which he did. And fair play to Ramsdale. His kicking is atrocious, by the way. Like, how many times
it was absolute comedy gold.
That was probably the highlight of the game for us
100%.
in Hammersmith, which was just every goal kick just going straight out to
play. 4
in
a row that went in that left side.
On the Optus coverage, I did hear a lot of your shit, which was wonderful. Like I heard you in full force, and he was.
But he did make some good saves.
He did make some good saves.
That one from Wilson was a fantastic save.
That was a very good save. That was very, very strong. Okay, so overall summaries of the game. How are you feeling? How are you like? We've got Chelsea next week, right? And I know we'll probably cover this on like the preview pod, but I'm not sure about you guys, but I fucking hate Chelsea. So I don't really know how I feel going into.
I felt your venom there. I felt it.
Oh, it's Mary, you don't really understand. So in Australia, to follow football in general is quite a niche kind of thing. So what that means, and to follow Fulham is even more niche. Me and my family literally had to start a podcast so we could talk about this with anyone else. So what that means is there's lots of high profile supporters here who are kind of fair weather fans. And a lot of them are Chelsea fans. And Chelsea fans, I'm sure Chelsea fans in the UK are egregious, but they're a different breed here. And they make me so angry. And they're really condescending. And they say things
are
like,
our biggest rivals, aren't they?
They say really condescending things like, I actually quite like Fulham. I like what you guys are doing. And I'm like, I hate you with every fiber.
We can't say the same to you, no. No, we hate them.
Yeah. And, but my point is, following this game, I don't want to see the same starting lineup. I don't really want to see that same Fulham when we play Chelsea, because my little heart can't take that. Because I had a tear roll down my cheek when Carlos Vinicius. I mean, speaking of Carlos Vinicius will always have a statue in my heart for what he did.
Of course.
And I can never take that away from that boy, even though I would never let him within 15 feet of my house. but like he has that for me, and I want that again, and I feel that this team can have that again. I don't know, just maybe just like a couple of points on the brief preview for Chelsea, because I know that we're going to do it and proper stuff, but come on, just for me. How do we feel?
We've got players
we
coming
hate
back,
Chelsea.
haven't we? Oh, I hate Chelsea. That's a start.
That's the first.
I mean,
Yeah, we hate Chelsea. We hate Chelsea.
we hate Chelsea. But, I mean, we've got Smith Rowe back, hopefully. Pereira's back from ban. We've got Anderson was on the bench, so I imagine he's knocking on the door to come back. And I mean that's an option, isn't it? I mean, given our lack of midfielders, now we've kind of Berger looks to be out. Lukic was holding his shoulder at one point, so either he's going to get pumped up with drugs and shoved out there, or he's going to be rested. But I mean, is there an option that we go for like a back five with Anderson, Diop, Bassi, but allow Anderson to be that kind of defender that steps up into that sort of centre mid role, that potentially, because he's got the passing range, so I don't see that as a bad thing. But I just think we're just so thin on the ground in centre mid that, you know, we've got potentially Pereira who could play centre mid, I guess King, but if Lukic isn't fit, then would you start Pereira and King? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think that's just the option, isn't it? Of who and King, yeah, absolute glowing performance against Southampton, but in a Chelsea game where he's going to be having to mark or be marked by, you know, Enzo, Caicedo, like absolutely stacked midfield. I think not Lucas Leiva. There's another one. But the guy they signed from Southampton, who is similar name, but he's obviously £100 million player or whatever they paid. It is a very, very big step up, but he is a Fulham boy. So would he be one of the few who has the right mindset of going into that kind of game? And I mean, it's going to be a really tough ask, I think, and it's going to be really touch and go, because obviously we've got, you know, 3 days recovery from now until the Chelsea game. That can they sort of shake off these sort of injuries? Can even Smith Rowe, if it is true that he's got a knock, can he shake that in time? It is going to be really thin on the ground, and we may just have to rely on youth to get us through this game, unfortunately. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's a shame because we've been picking up points, haven't we, against the bigger teams. So it's a shame we haven't got our full strength really for this game. But like you say, I don't know if Smith Rowe's back, then that will be. We need him to be back because we're very thin on the ground, aren't we?
Would you rather Smith Rowe start or Pereira? Let's just go straight for the jugular.
Pereira.
Oh, that's a big call for you.
If we have two centre mids fit, so like a Lukic Berger dynamic, or Lukic and King, I would start Pereira just because of his work rate alone. Just closing down, hassling them. I think that's what we need in those kind of games, and we've shown that works against City and Liverpool.
Yeah,
I don't know where my head would be at with that one. I think whichever you would play, you need that Berger Lukic pairing.
Yeah, 100%. I don't really know who I'm starting in that game at this stage, especially after the Southampton game. That's really kind of rocked my perspective even more. Don't really know who I want playing wings, or really who I actually want playing up front at this stage. Also, as well, a heavily defensive Southampton is a different game to a fully fit or a second in the table Chelsea side. I don't know, it's really difficult. But we'll save this for the other guys to actually break this down on the next pod. I don't want to take too much away from them because I've already taken all the charisma out of this week, so I might as well give them something. Now, the women's team do have a game coming up as well. Mary, the best person to speak to. I feel like I've said that you're the best person to speak to quite a few times, but that's just because I just see you in such a positive light. And I need to work on my adjectives, apparently. Now, Cheltenham. That's who we're playing, right? Have I said that wrong?
I don't know. I don't really follow it at the moment. I'm not too
Great.
sure.
Maybe you aren't the right person to speak. Anyway, so to be fair, I don't actually know fully who they are and where they are on the table. Jack's probably going to be really mad at me for not doing enough homework on that. But look, I mean, the women's team's still going strong. I still I think we're still kind of at the upper echelons of the table. I can't really speak too much for it, but you know what? You're getting a shout out on the pod, and yeah, like, come on, you wise. Like, what? Like, I don't know what else I need to say with regards to that.
I do have a topic though that is really frustrated me, and I've noticed it in the last couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
What is your view on reusing players' songs for other players?
Oh,
so, and this isn't like right, we used to sing "Oh, Bobby Zamora," and we use that for something. It's literally in the same squad. So it's really kind of like irked me that I think yesterday they started singing Josh King Ole Ole, like what we sing for Smith Rowe. So Josh King again, and then they started singing He's One of Our Own, which we sing for Cess. Then I even heard people song. Yeah, and then I heard people singing Issa Diop Baby, like Kenny Tete. I'm like, hang on, be a bit more creative about it, guys.
So this is a very, very good question to pose to somebody like myself. I have behind the scenes, I have screaming arguments with my brother and father with regards to similar subject matters. So as much as I love coming up with new creative songs, and we've done it for the women's team, we've actually put a lot of effort into doing it to the women's team. Unfortunately, it's impossible to make something stick unless it kind of has some element of familiarity, or it just has a natural resonance that you have absolutely no control over. So for me, annoyingly, because I do kind of agree with you that it is frustrating, but I think if players are getting sung about in any capacity, I have to concede to that. And it's one thing that I actually really, really love about Premier League and just English sport in general. You have creative chants and you actually utilize creative songs as opposed to just 3-syllable chants or 4 or 5-syllable chants that American sports teams will do, and sometimes Australian sport team will do. So you do have this wonderful arsenal of songs that you can utilize. So I guess I understand it, and because you're a little bit spoiled for choice. But yeah, I probably have a way more nuanced opinion of this that you were expecting me to have. But as long as the players are getting sung about in any capacity, that's the main thing for me.
I like Moon's song. I feel like that's a catchy one.
Yeah, the Moon song's great.
I'm here for that one.
Yeah.
Well, it was just like when they started, I think like Diop made a really good, I think it was against Brighton. He had a really good game and they started singing like Kenny's song, Diop. I was like, but it's not hard. I mean, I get the fact that you say that any song is a good song, right? Or that's a good thing that they're being sung about. But I think there's certain songs which other clubs use, or there's pretty iconic in football that we could just take. I mean, like in my head, I was just like, why not just like, there's only one Issa Diop? Because like, I don't think we sing that about anyone else. It's been
you can
used
start that
years.
next game then.
You can start that next game.
I'm
Skibby,
happy.
it'll drop an
in
absolute
H5.
stinker then.
I'll listen to you.
That's it, yeah.
Well, okay,
Skibby,
you've touched on a really interesting point. People don't like change. They just like using the same songs that they've always used, and then they just rehash them.
Yeah, I mean,
starting a new song's really hard.
I mean, it's not that hard. Like the Moon Is song only came out like,
brother, you have the power.
Pretty much enough. I don't have the power.
Excited for
I'm on
back
page
game.
5.
I'll be listening for you.
All right, you, Dave, and Mary need to find a way to like link up, and then on you need to like look at each other like it's Remember the Titans or something like that.
Give each other a nod, and we know
and just nod.
Moment.
And then just you all stand up, and then the whole stadium goes quiet. Everyone.
Go.
Yeah, Dave hits a falsetto. It'll be amazing, and then just the cottage erupts.
3-part harmony. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I just think it was stupid. It just annoyed me. That's all. I was sitting there in, well, like a proper old school football fan. I was just grumbling in silence. But yeah, that it just irked me.
You surprised me. I would never assume you would do that. Well, guys, I mean, look, we're kind of running a little bit under.
There's only so much you could talk about a 0-0.
Well,
man.
exactly, and you know what? Like we've dropped Christmas delicacies, and I got a Shrek reference in. So with that, I think we can probably tie it up very, very nicely now. Obviously, the guys will cover the Chelsea game a little bit later on in the week. Obviously, join the Discord. We love you so much. Thank you for listening, all that good stuff. Mary Southgate, thank you very, very, very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and you are an absolute treasure. I really enjoy actually seeing you more and more on the pod. I keep saying to the guys, such a welcome addition and just fantastic to have you here. Skibby, my friend, it's such a pleasure as always as well. Tell me nice things about my face.
Oh, man. You know what? When I heard that you had a haircut, I was a bit gutted about the locks. But whatever you do, man, you could be bald. You're rocking it. So I'm loving it. So it's always a pleasure to speak to you, Samuel. And yeah, it's... I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and
I wish you
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it's not too soon. I think it's 2 days away. So we can just about get away with saying.
Right. Okay. Now we're going a complete segue because all right, what's everyone's favorite Christmas film? Are we watching The Holiday? Are we doing the Love Actually? Are we doing the basic stuff? Tell me. I don't care. I know we're halfway through the outro, but I just want to know this just for me.
Muppets Christmas Carol for me, mate. Every time.
Fucking shout, man. That's a banger of a movie.
Love it.
For me, it's tragic. I don't really watch that many films, but I'll tell you what I am looking forward to is Gavin and Stacey, the finale. So anyone out there that's also counting down for that, I'm with you.
I mean, I hate James Corden, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, for me, I do like a Grinch. I do like the Grinch.
That is a good one.
And you know what? Like I do also like The Holiday as well. And I also like watching it with people who don't expect what The Holiday is going to be, and then they just get annoyed by it. And you know, okay, it's not a Christmas film, but I quite like Bridget Jones. Just really, really leaning in. Anyway. Anyway. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like, look, I mean, you knew when I was going to be here what it was going to be. But I hope you all have a merry, merry Christmas. I hope it's very, very white and lovely. And speaking of white, you know the drill. Come on, you whites.
Come on, you whites.
You whites.
You whites.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.